Hey YouTube, it's me, Patrick J. Hilaire here. Hope you guys are doing well. Today's video we'll be talking about my book, How to Never Be Broke Again. And I'll actually be breaking this down for you so that you guys learn, you should have learned in high school or early university, how anyone can learn how to never be broke again. So we're gonna go through each of the 10 principles explored in this book. And I'm also gonna give you guys some missions so you can go into the real world and get real life experience around how to never be broke again. Let's get started. Make sure you get a pen and paper so that we can get some notes so that you can learn how to become financially literate.
Haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. I appreciate you guys so much.
The first principle in my book, How to Never Be Broke Again, is gonna be broke is a mindset and you don't want to ever have that mindset. Now, a mindset of abundance will do wonders for your bank account just because you're gonna be cultivating this idea that money's essentially infinite and that being broke, even if technically all it means is you have a net worth of zero, but the mindset of being broke has to be handled before you can comfortably essentially become not broke ever again, and at least trust yourself that you have the resourcefulness to not be broke ever again. So a key part to this first principle is that you want to make sure you're always cultivating an idea of abundance. You never want to admit that you can't afford something, and instead of being lazy and just admitting, oh, I can't afford that shirt, or I can't afford that car, or I can't afford that house, you need to continually ask yourself, how do I afford this? And this is actually the first mission in my book, is that for a whole week, anytime you catch yourself saying, oh, I can't afford that, you need to quickly reframe that and then ask yourself so that you can use your creative abilities and figure out, how do I afford this thing that I want? Is it going to be costing me more hours at work? Do I have to flip something? Do I have to start lending some money and figure out, okay, how much interest do I need to lend out to get that money back? But it all starts with understanding that there are always ways to afford something. You just need to figure it out. And you really need to cultivate that mindset of you're going to be okay with money. Money comes in and money comes out through you. Because if you don't have the emotional and the mindset parts handled when it comes to financial literacy, even when you hit your money goals, whether it become income or your net worth, you're almost going to have that feeling of fear that you might lose it all because you're not actually abundant. You don't have that feeling yet. You may have just got into a high income job or built some assets, but in the back of your mind, if you're not actually comfortable in understanding that whatever happens in the world, you have the skills and the mindset to never be broke again, that's going to come back and it's going to give you a little bit of these limiting beliefs. And that's really almost going to be like a roof or a barrier that's going to stop your success. Now, the second principle in my book, How to Never Be Broke Again, is essentially you want to be able to pay yourself first. This is very important because you need to be adding to your net worth, building your skills, or at least adding to your emergency fund at minimum before you pay anyone else. Now, I know there's some advice there that says, Kate, you want to get rid of debt. I do not use that, just because if I can invest in myself, in my skills, in my net worth, in my passive income, and in my active income, well, I can just use that to pay off the debt. Now, you always want to pay yourself first and make this almost a habit. So when I first started, I actually just put off about 10 to 20% of my income and then just immediately put that away into an account. Anytime I got paid, I would pay myself first, put that money away, and then I would either invest that, buy some books, invest in some coaching, even just add to different tools that I use for my businesses, just so that I'm investing in myself and not paying another company, another person, or another entity before I even take care of myself. Now, the mission for the second principle of always pay yourself first is you got to set up a plan to pay yourself first. Pick a percentage, pick an amount that anytime you get paid, anytime money comes in, you take that amount and you'll pay yourself first. This is the bare minimum that you can do so that every time you get paid, you're moving towards your net worth goals and thus moving away from being broke and then towards becoming financially secure and then hopefully financially free. Now, the third principle in the Never Broke Again system is this idea that you want to not work for money and instead have your money work for you. Now, this idea is that okay, yes, we're going to work, yes, we're building businesses, yes, we're developing our skills, but we're not doing that for money. Money is just a tool that's going to allow us to get the things that we want, experience the things that we want to experience, and spend time with the people that we essentially care about or want to spend time with. So this idea that we don't want to work for money, instead, I always suggest to my students that you work for skills, you work for a purpose, and you work for either a community. The idea around this is that, again, you're already abundant. We've already moved past the broke mindset, and we're now in an abundance mindset. Yes, we still are going to get paid, but the purpose of all this is something higher than just money. Money in itself is kind of useless if you just take $100, put in your bank account or just put it underneath your bed and you leave it there. It's not really going to do much. However, if you put that money to work, you invest it into something, you put it towards a charity, you put it towards some renovations, you're turning that money, which is financial energy, and you're transforming it into something else that could benefit you, other people, and then even generations moving forward. So this idea that you don't really want to focus on just working for money, again, because you are abundant, and you're going to instead put that money to work for you. So I always look at money as almost it's like a little employee that can work 24/7. If I lend some money out, it's going to be working for me the whole time because I'm going to get interest on it. If I put money in a stock that say pays a dividend, it's going to be working for me whether I go to work or not, whether I'm asleep. It's going to create that dividend income that's going to pay me month to month, every 3 months or every 6 months or to a year, and I'm going to be generating income that way. Now, your homework for this third principle is I want you to start researching different ways that you can put your money to work. I want you to start researching income producing assets. The reason you want to do this and turn this into a habit is because you always want to be looking at new ways or ways that work for you so that your money can work for you and not for someone else. Now, take a little bit of time and test these things out. You want to maybe look into dividend income. Maybe you want to look into lending some money. Maybe you want to do some real estate, but you want to figure out which type of income producing asset is going to be great for your situation right now. These things might change in the future, but the principle doesn't change. You need to put your money to work, and you need to focus on working for something more than just money. Fourth principle is you need to have multiple sources of income. A job with one source of income just isn't going to cut it anymore. You really need to create multiple sources of income. And today I'm going to share with you guys different sources that I've created and had my own experience with in the past. And when I was writing this book, How to Never Be Broke Again, I actually had about 10 different income sources before I even published the book. And the only one I was missing at the time was rental income, which now that I'm a real estate investor, actually creates the bulk of my income. But the goal of this book is not to explain every single type of income that you can make, but to just expose you to these different types so that you can do your own research and then test it out. The whole idea here is you need to have real life experience with these income sources just so you understand the basics of how they work. You'll see which ones you like, which ones you don't like, and then you'll take that and maybe start using 3 or 4 of them, putting them together and finding your own means to creating passive income. So a couple different income sources that I had while writing this book that could help a lot would essentially be, you have your earned income, of course, and that's essentially just for having a job. You show up, you get paid. The issue with that is you can't work 24/7. That's probably not gonna be healthy for you. So you need other ways to make income. Next, I had some profit income that was through a little bit of tutoring that I'd started and then eventually became an educational consultant for a tutoring company. Also, there is capital gains income. That's from buying and selling and flipping. Essentially, that will be like stocks or like mutual funds or even like pieces of art. Then you have dividend income. It's buying a stock that'll pay a dividend. You just get paid monthly every 3 months or every 6 months or even every year. And then it's passive income that you'll earn just through holding that stock. You also have access to getting rental income. So I eventually became a landlord. That's what I am now. And that rental income is what you'll essentially earn by having your first rental property. Then you also have your royalty income. I'll get that by the programs or the books that I've written. And finally, you also have your interest income, which is great because that's just you lending money out and you get paid for the interest. It doesn't have to be to banks. You can actually lend out money to friends and family and earn some income that way. So idea with this principle is you want to start looking at adding more sources of income. Maybe it's not just adding a second job, but you want different sources just so that you're making money in different ways. Going back to the previous principle of having your money work for you. So the mission in this principle is that you want to develop multiple sources of income. Pick 2 or 3 of the ones that I've mentioned and even start researching different ones that could work for your situation, and then really start focusing on building those income sources. Now, some will probably make more income than others depending on your skills and your interests. And I would say eventually you want to focus on the ones that really give you the most income and the most joy. So for me now, it's really a lot of the profit income and the rental income that I really enjoy, because I do really love real estate, and I also really love teaching people financial literacy, doing the educational consulting and coaching when it comes to real estate. And that's kind of what I've done and built my income sources around. Of course, I still have my job as a teacher right now. And again, I'm not doing that for the money. I'm doing that because I love the community. I love teaching kids. I love seeing that aha moment when kids figure out how to, let's say, balance equations or figure out how the digestive system works. But also, it's a means for me to level up my skills as a teacher, which again applies to all the other businesses that I use when I take more of a consultant position. Principle 5 is going to be give before you receive. Now we're going back to cultivating abundance with this. And the whole idea here is essentially you want to pick a cause or have like a mission, whether you're giving that to the world, you're putting your energy out there so that eventually the whole idea is that what you put into the world is what you're going to get out of the world. So if you're giving a lot of value, you'll probably get a lot of value. Now, you don't want this to be like too transactional. You really want to just like genuinely want to help this cause or really believe in what you're working towards and your mission. Like for me, I think that I could really offer a lot of value teaching people, whether it comes to real estate, a little bit of philosophy, and a little bit of financial literacy, just because I think those are kind of missing in our current education system. Now, another way that you can give before you receive is just to give to charity. And there are tax benefits to this that we'll kind of explore later on, and that is going to be the next principle. However, the mission for this principle, give before you receive, is just take some time to research and find out how you can offer a little bit of value, whether it be to a charity, to your community. If you're tight on money, find a way to offer value through time or to giving out your expertise. If you have a little bit of money, pick a cause, pick a charity that you actually believe in. I would also highly suggest you look into how those funds are distributed. Are they actually going out to helping what the charity wants to help, or is it going mostly to administrative fees? Now, to complete the mission, all you need to do is put some money towards that or put some time towards that community or that mission so that you're giving to the world before you expect to receive anything. 6, this principle is the idea that you need to learn and know your tax laws. Now, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on tax laws in this video. However, because I'm a Canadian, I like to look at it. I do suggest to my students to start looking at and researching on the CRA government website. It's pretty awesome in that you'll learn a bunch of tax rules very specific to your, let's say, small business if you're running that, or maybe you have your own interests. Maybe you're a student still and you want to know what tax laws are available to you. You want to know that because you want to have like a tax filter that's going to filter out your decisions and how you make different money moves, because those taxes and those tax laws will affect your income when it comes to your net income and also what kind of write-offs and expenses you can use. So the mission here is to start researching online, whether it be your own country or if you live in Canada, just go on CRA and start looking at what are the tax laws available to me and to start learning a little bit more about that. You don't have to become a tax expert. Eventually, you can actually just learn from an accountant. And a quick little tip that you can do if you want to learn a little bit more is try to take an accountant out for dinner or for lunch. You can sit down with them for 30 minutes to an hour and a half. All you got to do is pay for food, and then you can actually have the time to ask them some questions and learn a little bit more about their expertise, which is tax laws. Number 7, this principle is that knowledge is power, but only if you take action. So just learning all these things, maybe up until now, you've been taking some notes, maybe you've already learned a bunch of financial literacy through books and through courses, through different mentors. But if you actually have never taken any action, then you're not really learning as much as you think you are. And this is applicable to basically how I teach all my students, in that you need to actually do the work. So yeah, it'd be awesome. Maybe you go to school, learn a little bit of business, but if you've never making a profit, if you never actually invested, you never actually went out there and tried to build something, well, you're not putting your knowledge to use. Knowledge is power, but only if you take action. You need to go into the world and test out these ideas and actually generate an income. Like, awesome, you want to learn how to never be broke again. You can't just sit at home and keep researching. You need to do something. You need to take that idea, maybe you have a small business idea, you need to just at least try. And I'm a true believer that any good small business idea, you can probably get started with little to zero money. And worst case scenario, you need some funds. Well, you can start with the sales process first. If you can't even sell the product or the service before it's even made, well, it's probably not good enough, or maybe you're not good enough. And then that just becomes an idea of, okay, now we need to improve our skills. We don't take it too personally. The market is the market. The world kind of decides if we're good enough or not, or if the business idea is good enough or not. But you need to take action on these ideas. You can't just read, you can't just learn about these things and not use it in the real world. So the mission in this principle is you kind of want to review all the other principles and missions that we've kind of talked about here and go back and just verify, did I actually do those missions? Have I generated extra income? Do I have multiple sources of income now? Have I been learning my tax laws? Have I been using those tax laws? The missions are there in the book and in this video so that you can go out into the real world and start learning for yourself. No one's going to do the work for you. You need to do it for you, because knowledge on its own is not power. You actually need to go out there and take action. Chapter 8, or Principle 8, is going to be move away from an income paradigm and towards a net worth paradigm. Now, this whole idea of focusing on net worth is because that's what you're going to need to move in and keep adding to your net worth till you reach your financial security and your financial independence number, which we'll talk about shortly. If you're in an income paradigm, it's very easy to increase your income and then just also increase your expenses. And then now you're not putting enough money away towards your net worth goals. But your net worth is what's going to be able to buy you your freedom back, because your net worth should probably be invested in assets. And at minimum, you're going to be earning a return on that. And basically later on, we'll show you how to reverse engineer the return so that you know how much net worth you need so that you can cover all your expenses passively. You don't have to work anymore. That makes you financially secure. Or to become financially independent, financially free, now your net worth is actually generating an income enough to cover your current income. So the mission here is now you want to start calculating what your net worth is. So net worth is all the assets that you have, things that you own that put money in your pocket, minus all the debt and liabilities that you have. That will give you your net worth. If it's zero, that means you're broke, okay? If it's less than zero, that means you're worse off than broke, and you actually need to work hard to get you back up to a net worth of zero so you can consider yourself broke. And if your net worth is above zero, awesome. Let's keep moving that towards your financial security and financial independence numbers. Okay, we're getting near the end here. The 9th principle is going to be make more than you spend. This sounds very obvious, but you'd be very surprised how many people think they could just increase their income, but then increase their expenses past that, and they're still finding themselves in not so great financial situations. You need to be able to manage your cash flow. You need to make more than you spend. And this is why I really focus on, okay, yes, you have to add to your net worth. That's going to add to your income, but also your income should essentially be at a level where you're living maybe not necessarily so below your means where you're being extremely frugal. Like, I do believe that money should be used for experiences, for other people, for the lifestyle that you want to build, but you still should have that buffer where you're making more than you're spending. So if you can get to a point where you can bank and save and essentially invest about 50% of your income, like, that's awesome. If you can't do that, even just 10, 20%, that's going to be awesome too. But really focus on making more than you actually spend. So the homework piece here is you want to recalculate your cash flow. Let's make sure that you're actually making more than you're spending each and every month. And if you're not, we got to figure out, okay, do we reduce spending? Maybe there's some things that you think you need, but you just want, or maybe it's just time to get really good at your skills and increase your income. Now, the 10th and final principle in this Never Broke system and my book, How to Never Be Broke Again, is you need to know your financial independence number. Now, a very simple way to kind of calculate this is you want to take how much money you're making. Now, if you want to kind of shoot into the future, you want to write how much income you want to make. That could be your active income. And now you're going to times that by 20 or divide that by 5%, which is just like a really, let's say, baseline level return that you can get on your money, and which is 5% or times 20. And now that's going to be your financial independence number. What that means is either you have that in your assets. So if you sold everything and now you're just sitting on the cash, you have enough cash to basically give yourself the income that you're making now or the income you want to make, and you have 20 years of that income. Now you could just spend that cash and live for 20 years or more, depending if you're, again, making more than you spend, or you can use that net worth, use those assets to generate about a 5% return on your money. And that's going to be able to essentially replace the income that you're making now that you used in the beginning. So again, with this last and final principle, you want to know your financial independence number, which is essentially how much income are you making per year, or how much income do you want to make per year, and then times that by 20 or divide that by 5%. It's the same calculation. And what that's going to give you is your financial independence number. Now, your financial security number, as a quick little bonus, is very similar, except instead of using income as a number that you're going to times by 20, it's going to be expenses times 20. So that means you have about 20 years of expenses in your assets that, again, you could liquidate and just use for the next 20 years, or the smart decision is probably to have that invested in some assets, and now all your expenses are paid for month to month passively. It's going to also depend on what you invest in. However, these are just rough numbers that we use. You could do a little bit more research, and the mission really is to calculate your financial independence number. And if you want, you could also calculate your financial security number, and at least now you have an end goal of what you're shooting for. So those are the 10 principles of how to never be broke again. Again, that's found in my book, How to Never Be Broke Again. It's also free on Spotify if you're more like an audio person. But I made this video so you don't have to read it. You can just check out this video, do your own research, and then do the missions. So again, make sure that you don't have a broke mindset. Don't ever have that mindset. It's not going to help you. Number 2, you want to pay yourself first. Make sure you are working to pay yourself first, because if your cup's not full, you're not going to be able to pour into other people. Number 3, don't work for money. Have your money work for you. 4, you want multiple sources of income. Number 5, always give before you receive. Number 6 is going to be know your tax laws. Number 7, knowledge is power, but only if you take action. Number 8, you want to move from an income paradigm towards a net worth paradigm, and let's focus on building that net worth. Number 9, make more than you spend. And then finally, number 10, know your financial independence number. So I hope you guys got some value out of this video. Again, you can check out my book, How to Never Be Broke Again, if you're interested. Again, I gave you all the info in here as well. It is free on Spotify, like I mentioned. And again, please like and subscribe these videos. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. And again, thank you so much to everyone who has supported the YouTube channel up until now. I'm almost at 200 followers, so I think that's super awesome. I always wanted to do YouTube, so this is kind of cool. It's just another way for me to kind of teach in a different fashion than just public education. So yeah, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next week with another video on real estate, finances, and a little bit of philosophy that we'll mix around in here. So take care. Patrick J. Hilaire here, and follow me on different social medias. I'll post them down here. Take care, guys. See ya.
The knowledge I had with real estate wasn't that great, and that's when I knew I needed a mentor to guide me through the steps of minimizing my mistakes and obtaining property. It kept me accountable with the limited time I had after the long hours at work. It taught me things I wouldn't have learned without a mentor.
Thank you to Patrick. Big help, helping with pretty much everything ever since I started. So big Big shout out to Patrick and Alliance.
Nice. Yeah, Nick's an action taker, so we can help guide you, but you still got to do work, and Nick is a testimonial for that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And thank you again, Patrick, for this program. It changed my life. It changed my mindset. It changed everything. That was the best six weeks of my life.
I just want to give a shout out to my man Patrick. Just honestly been one of the best teachers that I've ever had.
It's a very informative course. Patrick works with you one-on-one, so if there's any questions or anything you might be doubting or you're uncertain of, he'll definitely be there to help. Honestly, highly suggest this course. It's taught me a lot through my journey.